myself away, or I cannot. This is it. I'm it. You know, I'm here. So it was wonderful. But then I was also studying psychology. I'm really intrigued by, you know, how do we get to be the way we are. So I concentrated mostly on child development because I wanted to know where does it all start. How are we, you know, kind of formed in that early period. So I worked on that and the Zen, and then I got the opportunity to actually enter graduate school in psychology. And one of my topics was, it was about young children, kindergarten age, and it was about how the parent-child relationship relates to how they relate to their peers, how others, you know, can be social, how accepted they are by others. But in the middle, I thought it was probably a piece about how they experience themselves. That if they could have a kind of strong sense of themselves and feel confident, that then they could go out in the world and make friends and just be kind of centered in themselves. So I was looking for literature on that topic, sense of self, experience of self. And I was just kind of walking through the library in Utrecht in the Netherlands and picked up this book called Developing Through Relationships by Ilse De Koeyer-Laros. And it was wonderful because it was a psychology book, but it started out with two premises. First, everything is relational. Second, everything constantly changes. Now, maybe that sounds like an open door. Of course, everything's relational, and of course, we're changing all the time. But in psychology at the time, we actually were more kind of getting these little stamps in time. Like, you know, what's your self-esteem at this time? What's your, you know, all kind of trying to grasp these concepts into a concept that's pretty solid, instead of flowing and changing and related to other people. So I was so excited, and then it turned out that this man, Alan Fogel, actually was in Amsterdam at that same time. He was a visiting professor at the time, and he was in the very same office that I had been doing years and years of observations of these babies all the time. So it was like, wow, you know, this is great. He's here. And we met, and we had a really good click. And I had this dream of ever working with this great professor who was so in tune with himself and so into body-mind connections as well. But I never thought I would. But in the years that followed, I met him a couple more times, and we clicked really well. And then I had the opportunity to come to Albuquerque to a conference. And I was like, that's so close to Salt Lake. While I'm there, I'm going to go to Salt Lake to visit the Zen Center, because the Zen Center here in Salt Lake was connected to the one in Amsterdam. And I knew some people and stuff. So I went here for a couple of weeks, and I'm like, oh, but Dr. Fogel is also in Salt Lake. Let me contact him and see if he remembers me. And he's like, oh, I remember you so well. Please come visit, present your research. So the plane landed, and I was like, feeling as if I'd been here before. It was like a place that it felt like it was the right place for me. So I met up with Alan, and he's like, you know, how we present and meet his staff and students, and everything just felt like it was all so connected. And then he said, well, you know, I just got this research grant, and I still am looking for somebody to help me manage that grant and supervise the lab. And I was thinking of you. What? You know, because I wasn't looking for, I never even really wanted to move here, or, you know, but I did want to work with him. And, so I was also at the Zen Center as well, and moved here then. So was really active in those first couple of years of my Zen practice. And Alan Fogel was also wonderful because he studied many body-mind techniques that were based on observing infants. So for example, there's Feldenkrais, there's body-mind centering, and a couple others that looked at how we can recreate our movements and kind of our sense of being in our bodies by looking at little infants and how they are so present in the world. So I practiced a lot of that stuff as well. But then in, then our research funding ended in about 2006. And that is in the same year, I teaching also. I've been doing research and I'm teaching child development. But then I have my own child. What do you think happened?
Not theoretical.
What? You know what are all these books good for?
You can't even do it.
What's that?
He said you can't even do it.
Yeah, that's right. I couldn't even do it. Yeah, that's right, James. So, yeah, when you're up in the middle of the night all the time and crying just doesn't stop, and you're like, how do I help this child? Because, you know, I had this thing in my mind that if I only hold him all the time, and kind of carry him around and breastfeed and just be all over him and give him all this love and nurturing, that he would be fine, and he would not cry very much. But, you know, but babies cry. That's what they do. And, but I had said to myself, I'm never going to let him cry. And I wasn't able to find good research on this topic, like should you let babies cry, is that a good thing or not? But he wouldn't sleep very well. So even though I would, you know, go to him and give him all the comforting, and he'd still wake up and keep waking us up, to the point where, I don't know if you've ever had this experience of being so tired that like you're in the shower, you're like, I need, you know, to brush my teeth or whatever. you get your shampoo instead of your toothpaste. You know, you're all mixed up. You don't know what's front and back and what day it is or what time it is. And but unfortunately, throughout all of this, it was so hard for me to maintain any type of mindfulness practice. Because I was just, I don't know, I was so focused on this baby. Like, you know, I couldn't find any time for myself. And I've been challenged a lot in that real life, you know, where the theory just doesn't get it. So yeah, I have this whole experience of teaching child development from the textbooks, from all the research. That's one side of me. But now right here, today, I'm really here more for the other side of parenting, which is that moment-to-moment challenge that you could never predict. You never know what your child is going to do, or your children are going to do, and what you yourself are going to feel inside, and then what you're going to do. You cannot control that by knowledge or anything else. It has to come from here, from being in the moment. So I'm just kind of starting this up. I would really, what I think would be really good is to create a group of people all interested in this, so that we can support each other to become more conscious parents. And I became aware of the concept of conscious parenting by this book here by Dr. Shefali Sabari. She's a clinical psychologist, but she also grew up in a tradition that did a lot of meditation and mindfulness practice. So for her, naturally, she has a daughter as well, so she's a parent and a clinical psychologist and mindfulness practitioner. And let me see here, I'll just read a couple of things that she's writing that relate to this topic. So she says, this here, how can a child awaken an adult? Because her whole idea is, yes, children are challenging, but, we just talked about this, but they are challenging. They pose us a challenge to grow as individuals, and to grow spiritually, and to just, you know, kind of confront our own remnants of the past, our own ghosts that inevitably are going to come up when we have a child. And so she says, our children are able to take us into the remnants of our emotional past and evoke deeply unconscious feelings. Whether we unconsciously generate situations in which we feel the way we did when we were children, or we desperately struggle to avoid doing this, in some shape or form, we inevitably experience the identical emotions we felt when we were young. This is because unless we consciously integrate the unintegrated aspects of our childhood, they never leave us, but repeatedly reincarnate themselves in our present, then show up all over again in our children. And that touches me because I revisited my past as a child multiple times, and at a certain point you think like, well, yeah, I think I'm done. But the older I grow, the more I see that even people in their 60s, 70s, 80s, you can still see the childhood patterns there. I have an aunt who's my dad's aunt. She's my grandmother's sister, and she'd still talk about them as sisters and how my grandma was always the one who always got her way, and my aunt, was always the one who had to work hard. And it's been a theme, but since their childhood, and she's 91. So I don't think it ever will leave us. I don't think we ever will totally be done with it. Be done with. There's always going to be more issues, and that's okay. I think we are works in progress. But maybe before I continue, and I don't actually have a timer, so I don't know how much time. You know, Michael?
Hey, you've got about 15 minutes.
Okay.
Plenty of time.
Because I am curious about you guys having children or not. It doesn't matter their age or where they are, but maybe I'll just quickly go around the room and listen to people soon. You guys start with Michael.
Yeah, we have 2 daughters, 10 and 13. And they cry.
They did.
Hope too.
Yes. Let's see. Do you have any children?
No children. A daughter and 3 sons. And they did the same thing, but now they're grown, so I don't have to worry about it.
Do you still worry about them at all? Or?
Of course.
My mom.
Not so much worry. I know that they can take care of themselves, but I do care.
Yeah, you keep caring. You keep being a parent.
Just one son. And I hear a lot my wounds from my own childhood through this child. So it was very good for me. He's
What age is he?
24.
And then we have James in the back.
Hi, I have James, he's almost 5, and a 26-year-old daughter.
Oh, cool. 2 very different
Yes,
ages.
Yes, very different.
Seeing a lot of.
yeah, and I co-parent James, and so I only get him part-time too, so it's a lot different than full-time.
Yeah, I talked a little with Anna and how, when you don't have the kids, you can do all this stuff for yourself, or you feel you need to. Yeah, then you have a little bit of a break in some sense. So, let's see.
Yeah, I have 2 adult children, 28 and 19. And being a parent is the hardest job you'll ever love. And they have taught me a lot, and I have done a lot of healing in my children. And working on myself.
I have 6 total. My oldest is almost 25. I train with him. My youngest right now is 10. I realized that the older they get, the more difficult, because I cannot tell them, go to your room. So, after 13, 14, they don't go to the room anymore.
Exactly. Thank you.
I have a son, 27, a daughter, 25, almost 26, and then my other daughter just turned 18. And I parented them solely on my own for almost 14 years, my husband has. So, yeah, they've been my greatest teachers, and I have loved overall, no matter the circumstances.
And that sounds really challenging, because even being, I'm married, daddy's wonderful, but having to do it on her own, I still find it challenging with two people, with just one child. So,
I have only a step-grandchild who's about 5 years old, and he's still learning he's still trying to work out the word no, and it's me.
that's so important to learn about. Thank you.
I have a son and daughter, 28, my daughter's 28, my son is 19.
I have a son that just started college.
Cool. Congrats.
He's too much like me, which is a good thing.
But too much. That's good. You want to reach? Yeah, well, you both have to reach church, but in the back.
I'm a cat daddy, I have 2 cats or so.
Cool.
They don't know no either.
Yeah, they don't know. They probably have so hard time to know their cats. Thanks. Okay. And then behind you is Jen. Okay.
I've had the challenge just recently, well, 14 is very challenging right now. And then my 10-year-old, he started his identity now. And so it's been really strange to see them kind of assert themselves and kind of go a different direction, so we don't feel they're getting their identity right now. And so it seems and then I also have had the challenge of just recently that they live with their dad part-time now. And so that's been different because you kind of feel one minute you're mom and the next minute you're single, like just two separate. So it's really to merge with the dynamic because right now I don't know what to do with them. So that's my challenge, but it's been the most beautiful experience as well as far as parents. Because they do push you backwards and learn so much.
Yeah, what you brought up too. So there's this one, kind of dynamic that starts pretty early on. About when they're about 18 months old, 2 years old, start to assert themselves, which is that we all want to be individuals, but we all want to be connected. So we from young age on, we want to be individual yet connected. But the specific type of that, or how to assert your individuality, that really changes over the course of childhood. So, yeah, by the early teenage years, they want to assert that again. So it's also time to find new ways of connecting, other ways of connecting than worked before. How many kids are you?
I have 3, one of each. They're all grown. They've all turned out to be wonderful, love, people with a great sense of humor, high intelligence, loving, demonstrative, but they're clearly not.
Sounds like
It's good.
we should probably talk to you then. And ask you how you do.
Well, I bought all the books that you wrote, I bought. And once I started having kids, I started throwing the books away.
Yeah.
None of this shit's gonna help at all.
You learned your lesson. Okay, in the back, the gentleman up there.
We didn't have any children, but we raised a niece long distance. So we were her base. She had some very tragic circumstances.
So
Pardon me?
you have taken care of a child then.
Yeah, more my wife than me. Yeah, we have done some of it, yeah.
I have 4 children and almost 10 grandchildren, and they're such an adventure to raise my four children. My youngest one, wild little girl, really bright, but really such an adventure to raise. And now she has three just like her. And they're 5 and 3 and 16 months. And her husband is working in Colorado, so she's trying to take care of them herself. And I can't wait till she sees this, your talk on the internet, because she's going through the same thing, sleep deprivation. And should I let him cry? Should I not let him cry? And I'm anxious to talk to you and see what you decided about that.
Yeah, I'd be happy to inform you more. But actually, maybe I could talk a little bit on that. And then, well, we have one more in the back, and we brought.
Yeah, so I have two. Just brought one today. My son and my daughter's at home with my wife.
Okay.
And yeah, I like what you said about how it brings back the past, because it's certain feelings that I haven't felt in a long time until, you know, maybe a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and you can't be prepared for it either. Because I kind of knew it. That's why I personally postponed parenthood really long. It's like, I don't think I can do it. I don't know if I can do it. Well, let's try it. Because almost at the end, you know, when I almost was too old to, try it with confidence. So, but yeah, the crying is actually a good issue, a good example, and also an area where it could go wrong in parent-child relationships early on when that's something that really gets to you. But so being also a teacher and looking into all this research, I recently did find research, and actually they were finding over a bunch of different studies, and we still need more studies because a lot of them were just not done well enough, but across a bunch of different studies, there's two different main approaches. One is the one that I took. Like, you always go to them, never let them cry, you always co-sleep, comfort in the right way. And the other one is to, in various ways, let them cry. Well, and there's extremes, like some people let their babies cry for like an hour and, then don't step in. But there's more gentle ways where you let them cry and then you go in, you kind of pat their head, but you don't pick them up. Or you sit in the same room, and whenever they, like when they're old enough, crawl out of bed, you just quietly put them back into bed. But you keep sitting there, you don't talk to them, you don't give them much attention. And they actually found research support for that second method, where you do kind of let them cry a bit for a couple of minutes, then go back in, give them a little bit of attention at a very low level. Because they're finding that children who continue to have sleeping problems, they also have parents who go to them, and the children come to expect that you will always be coming when they cry. But of course another issue is security and safety, because children have to feel safe, and that was my main issue. They have to feel secure and safe. So whenever they are in pain, or they're hungry, or their cry sounds piercing, and it's like, oh, they really are in pain, or they need something, you immediately need to go to them. Because they need to know, oh, there's nice, I can really trust that I'm loved and cared for. But if and it's so hard to distinguish what those cries are. But if they seem well fed and, have a clean diaper on, and they all seem all fine, it's actually not too bad to let them cry for, let's say, 10 minutes and then go back in. But for me, it really touched upon my own childhood. And maybe that's true for many parents, I don't know. But when I would hear him cry, it's like, I try it for a little bit, let him cry. And I'm like, I can't stand it. And it was bringing back feelings of being alone in my bed and crying. But I was older then. I was more aware of being lonely and left alone. And not that I had bad parents, but they were very wrapped up in their own. They had so many issues of their own. They were fighting a lot, and we were quiet in our bed hearing it, but they didn't think we knew. But my sister and I, we were just, and I was just like, really quiet and felt so alone with that, and as though I could not bring that to them, because already had so much going on. So really, the crying baby really, it tugs on those strings, and it's like, and then, for me at least, you get to, it's like almost automatic, you start to react instead of act. I was kind of pulled out of my center, and like, oh, I have to go to that baby again. I went to him again, but then he kept not sleeping. So I kept being exhausted, and yeah, it's a cycle, and then I think we really need support groups or some support because I knew it all consciously, rationally, I knew. The processing that I knew it was, getting back to my own childhood sadness, but I couldn't get out of it because you're so in it. But I just signaled 5 more minutes, so let me actually see this here, what you can do. Because so I brought both of these books, and if you're interested, I really recommend both of these. The Conscious Parent. The other one is Buddhism for Mothers, but I'm sure fathers can also read it as well. And she is discussing a couple of ways to practice, even in the midst of the craziness of being a parent. So, oh yeah, she first mentions an example here of a woman who became a spiritual teacher too, but she was a single mother of 3 kids and 2 jobs. Never giving up, she met a teacher who visited her home and found 2 opportunities for meditation. First, she was to meditate while washing the dishes. Have a general awareness of just washing the dishes, the movement of your hands, the warmth or coolness of the water, picking the dish up, soaping it, rinsing it, putting it down. Nothing else is happening now, just washing the dishes. Her teacher also noticed that many times a day she walked down the hallway. He advised her whenever she was in the hall to use the time as an opportunity to be present with the simple act of walking. With each step, very quietly in your mind, you can note stepping, stepping, stepping. So one technique, I believe this is more Tibetan Buddhism, but is to label whatever you're doing. Like you're meditating and you have thoughts, you can go thinking. Or if you feel you're getting mad, you can go getting mad. If you label it, it can start to create that kind of little couple of seconds between seeing a situation and reacting. And if you can create that little space, it might help you not to react. Some other things, when you walk, say to yourself, I am walking, and feel the effects of the ground on your feet. When you do housework, notice every detail of the task. When you eat, be conscious of the movements of your hands, the taste of the food, the sensations of swallowing and digesting, and the feel of the food in your stomach. So yeah, just a couple more like those. Take every opportunity to focus on your breathing, to rest your mind. So even in the midst of all the craziness,
I just want to say one thing. Hearing that baby cry out there, I wanted to run and help him, and I think it goes against everything when you make a child cry. Research or not.
yeah, well, it's natural. We want to do that. And so thank you for mentioning that.
And I want to go the other way.
And that might be a natural life.
Like they're all wrong.
Okay, we have one more question.
Did you define conscious in your own perspective?
Sure.
Conscious mother or parenting, is it being aware of yourself and aware of that child, fully present with both? I know obviously how do you experience
Well, I guess I haven't consciously thought about that too much. But like you said, being present and really see seeing your child as he or she really is, their essence. And yeah. So I encourage you all to do that. If you have children, if you have cats, see them for who they really are. And it's something we often forget, like you said, in the midst of all our busyness.
We have a tendency to see them as a reflection of us instead of breaking that mirror and seeing them as we are.
So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll definitely have Ilse come back and talk more on another day.
I'm grown.
What's that?
I'm grown.
I'm grown up. Unconscious grown up thing. Yeah. Thanks so much for coming, and feel free to have lunch in the coffee shop and connect and talk and
Hash tacos.
and hash tacos
Make donations.
and make donations, and the donations will go to Dancing Crane and maybe a gratitude of a cup of coffee or a lunch if there's enough for Ilse and Angie. But it's nice to keep that club going, and it's nice to keep this club going. So it's so great that Dancing Crane has let us use this room, which is basically for free except for a couple of donations. So that's awesome. And we'll keep this going. Thanks so much for coming, and thanks for talking.
And if you're interested in the conscious parenting idea, I have this sign-up thing so that I'll keep you in touch.
So you have 3 kids, one of each. What the heck does that mean?
Yeah, good morning, he crawls into bed. That's nice.
We need to catch a time the next time.
You have plans?
Did you meet Andy?
Will you play again?
The salt. And well, salt is true,
Oh, okay. I'm going to email you. Patrick, thank you. Thanks for coming.
Or rock salt.
Yeah, you too. Have a great week. See you Wednesday. Yeah. Thank you for coming.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
It's a little, it's great. Beads in a different way, like I always represent it too.
No way. Fail without finding something. Well, that's it. And I have to say thanks. And I was serious about the grown-up stuff, right? Because we know you're smarty pants about being a mom, but you know, like most of mine, I tell people.
You can take my class in summer on adult development and aging.
Oh yeah, well, see, I could do that. Oh God.
Yeah, that's right.
Do I get a senior discount?
Okay, that's an example, yeah.
Yeah, anyhow. And a pleasure to meet you. Thank you. We'll see you next time. I'm sorry that I didn't see you.
I know, but I'm so glad you were there for the fundraiser. And it was really cool because I met the woman next day.
Yes,
And we had a beautiful conversation.
yeah, and she builds jewelry. Did you see her jewelry and stuff?
Yeah,
Yes.
I love her jewelry. Really? Yeah, and I gave her my card and I wrote her, but she goes, and then every time I see her, okay. So that card and also another huge.
Oh, okay. And your first name is? Kelly? Oh, I should.
Yeah, I'm glad that it ran into her. She's gone through quite an experience.
Yes, oh yeah, that's important. Life-threatening health issues are quite an experience.
Oh yeah, and she told me that this fundraiser was going to there was the medical bills for like 2 years.
She had the same health plan that I have, which is not good out of state. IHC. They own a business in Torrey, Winter down in Florida, Georgia.
It will be.
Because I need to, I'm just gonna probably